What's up guys, Dr. Misk here with the first of many Wuthering Waves videos, and I'm just gonna be calling it Wuba from now on, just to make it easier with my shitty pronunciation. And today this first video is gonna be about an interesting Reddit post which I found the other day by the username the Chowkey. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but so shoutouts to Chowkey. And it's basically a Reddit post about the Google Trends for Wuthering Waves. I did say I'm gonna be calling it Woowa, but I didn't. Well, whatever. So basically, this post just shows that there is definitely an increasing interest in Wuthering Waves. You can see a big spike during the closed beta test, the second closed beta test, and then as we're getting closer to release, again the hype is increasing. But this graph by itself doesn't really mean much. It doesn't really mean anything because you could even be searching for vanilla pudding and you would get a graph similar to this. So there's nothing to compare it to. However, if we do compare it to Genshin, for example, which is, you know, everyone's talking about how it's going to be the Genshin killer and how it's like the big competition. So let's just check the comparison to Genshin Impact for the last 90 days. And as we can see, while there is still like a good interest in Wuthering Waves, the interest over the last 90 days in Genshin Impact is far greater than in Wuthering Waves. But is this even a fair comparison? I personally say it's not really a fair comparison because we are before the release of Wuthering Waves and Genshin is already an established game. So why don't we check a comparison where we check it against the pre-release period of Genshin Impact. So I made this little graph where we compare the pre-release period, let's say like there's like a 2-month lead-up period for Wuthering Waves, and then the 2-month lead-up period for Genshin Impact to its release. And here we can see that, interestingly enough, Wuthering Waves actually has more interest according to Google Trends, which is like, you know, it's not like the be-all end-all of how good the game is gonna be or like how popular a game is gonna be, but it's still something. But as you can see, it has more interest than Genshin Impact. And if we just throw Tower of Fantasy in there, which is another game which was considered like a Genshin killer, a Genshin competitor, whatever else, and we check that pre-release comparison, you can see that Wuthering Waves, the pre-release hype for this game, seems to be greater in comparison to the pre-release hype for Tower of Fantasy and the pre-release hype for Genshin. Now, of course, there's many other factors which are at play, which content creators like Tech don't talk about pretty often, about how Genshin Impact came out in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and that basically gave it a massive boost in popularity because everyone was just, you know, sitting at home, playing games, going on Twitch, whatever else. So I'm not saying we should be expecting Wuthering Waves to be as successful as Genshin. I think it's better to temper your expectations. You know, they have those sayings like, you know, aim for the stars and then, or aim for the moon and you'll land on the stars or whatever. I think here it's better to just, you know, temper your expectations rather than aim high. And just for comparison's sake, I added a few more search terms just to see how they fare compared to more mainstream stuff like Elden Ring, for example. Like if you check this graph, Elden Ring is way more popular than any 3 of these games, like the pre-release period. Even if you combine the 3 games together, the interest in them, Elden Ring still just, you know, goes above them. And then if we check this interesting graph, here we are checking the interest of all these games against big boobs on Google. And interestingly enough, Elden Ring is actually more popular than big boobs. So, you know, props to them. They really broke the barrier for not only normies, but just for people in general. We can also check another very hype game, which I would say was like the most hype game. Like the pre-release period for this game was probably the most hype ever, which is Skyrim. So if we check the data for Skyrim, then we can see that it eclipses all the other 4 games. But yeah, so just a bit more context to be added to this interesting Reddit post. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm gonna be making new videos for Wuba pretty much every day from now on. So stay tuned or come back for more, that kind of stuff. Peace.